Hi everybody, it's Phil Jones here. Thanks for taking the time out to watch this video. If you've been watching some of the other videos, you'll see that I'm trying to find other ways of, delivering training content, I suppose, helping managers to think about what they're doing at this time in the pandemic, through making videos, through running Zoom meetings, etc., etc. So this is one of the short videos that I'm making that I hope will be able to convey some of this material and be a prompt to thinking and reflection for managers. And rather than make a big video, I'm making lots of little ones. So these will be connected to other ones in a greater or a lesser way. So this is what's called a rather long title, describing what you need from your staff in a pandemic. This is about staff who are suddenly working at home, and perhaps haven't in the past, or maybe they did, but it's really particularly aimed at those who suddenly find themselves managing people who are at home. And it's called the 9 windows model. Sticking the word model after it makes it sound very grand, but it really isn't. It's just you're looking at the idea of dividing a thought, a process, a goal, a plan into 9 seems to be something that's been around for a while, and you can find it in the coaching literature. I'll explain a bit more as we go through, but this is about helping managers describe what they need from staff, because anecdotal evidence, we'll look at some of the research in a moment, but in my experience, the people I talk to, people who find themselves suddenly working at home really don't know what to expect from their line manager, and in fact there's a bit of a vacuum because it's hard to explain. People hasn't been, they carry on working the best they can, and yet they work in entirely different circumstances, and they don't seem to know what their managers want for them. So I wanted to just provide an opportunity to promote a bit of discussion about that, and one of the things that I'm going to reference is there we are, as a question: Do staff know what's expected of them? Do their managers know what's expected of them? Maybe have you, if you're a manager, have you had time to think what a successful day in the bedroom, office, wherever it is, is for your staff, for people who would have normally been out and about? What's it look like now? Can we help them understand? Well, as I've said, one of the things I was going to reference was a research back in May 2020, a study of 2,000 working at home people, done by a collaboration between LinkedIn and the Mental Health Foundation. It was part of Mental Health Week. These are some of the things that they found from 2,000 workers. The average person working at home in their study is self-reporting, obviously, so what to make of that is they reckon they're doing 28 hours overtime a month. So they're doing 28 hours more than they would have done, more than they're paid for. It actually doesn't say what they would have done, but it seemed noticeable that they're doing 28 hours overtime. And I think this comes from an anxiety about the picture of success, what it means to be working at home. 56% felt more anxious and stressed than they had done when they were working from the office or before this pandemic happened and they were working at home. 39% find it difficult to focus at work. And this, you can imagine the scenario. I mean, these are not workplaces. These are quickly assembled temporary workstations where in the corner of a bedroom, in the kitchen table, in the corner of the lounge. There may well be other people at home, etc., etc. So lots of people find it very difficult to focus. 23% have no dedicated workspace at home. I was quite surprised that that means that 77% did have a dedicated workplace at home. That seems like pretty good, really. But so there's a lot of people who don't have a dedicated workspace. 24%, Jason Ricota said that they mental health and well-being had suffered as a result of it, and younger workers particularly felt that they were seriously affected. Another study of of people who are working in caring jobs in the community, social workers, care assistants, domiciliary people, district nurses. What they were saying, one of the things that they really missed was no longer in their working day was time to think. Traveling to an appointment, thinking about what they were going to do, doing the appointment, traveling back again, and thinking and reflecting on the appointment. Then that was important time that was missing. So there we have a bit of a challenge, a different scenario. And as I said, anecdotally, people weren't really were worried about what their managers thought about them at home. Did their managers think that they were skiving? You know, if they couldn't get to the phone very quickly, did they think that they were skiving? If I'm exhausted in the day, is it okay to lay in the bed for a while? Is it okay to have a chat to somebody in my family or in the house, or a chat to a colleague? Things that we take for granted in an office now become something that's very difficult in the workplace. People need are rest sanctioned during the day. There was other stories about, you know, people logging on as part of the Mental Health Foundation, people logging onto their phones, onto their systems at 7 o'clock in the morning and still being on there at 8 o'clock at night because they're really anxious about people getting calls. What happens if my manager rings me at 8:45? What happens if my manager rings me and I'm not actually able to get to the phone just at that moment? What does this kind of throw up for people? So it seemed to be really important, and we should have a think about managers being able to describe for their staff what was a picture of success. And I just use this old kind of 9 windows or whatever as just a way to encourage people to think. So what I would suggest you do, if you like, and I've got a bit of paper here, I'm sure I can do it. I would get yourself a bit of paper. I don't know. Fold it maybe halfways across, so you've got it 1/3 and 2/3 there. Fold the other third over. Give that a little bit of a squeeze, and then you've got it in 3 columns, and then you can fold that in halfway in, fold out the outside again. There you go. You've got, like me, you've got 9 windows, if you want to call them that. and you might want to use the same as me, but you want the other ones. What do you want from your staff in terms of how they keep you up to date with what's happening for them? Do you want them to email you? Do you want them to ring you? Do you want them to text you? Do you want them to make a file record in whatever file system you've got, and then let them know? How often do you expect them to ring in? Maybe how often do maybe you want to tell them about how you're going to keep in touch with them. But do it in some sort of detail, and I would advise avoiding such statements as, keep communication up. Let's be more specific. What does that mean in terms of frequency? What does it mean at the times when you want them to ring you and the times you want them to email you? What are the times that they can just make that decision themselves? What about thinking more broadly, maybe thinking more big picture about the progress of a project? Do you want people to have a weekly email or a weekly catch-in with bullet-pointed reflections of the last week? Let's get this written down nice and specifically for people. Your reflection time, I'm talking to that member of staff. How do you see people reflecting on their work at work, given that so much has gone missing? Workers who would have been visiting staff are often spending more time on the phone now than they would do face-to-face staff. What's happening to that thinking time? What's your expectation for how they think? Let's think about their recording. Now, maybe it's similar. Maybe recording's the same. Maybe you've got standards and this is the same. But maybe those records have a different role now when staff are not so easily available. What is your expectations on the recording? Recharging during the day. Well, like I said, people have been saying to me, you know what, I had to have a bit of a lie down in the afternoon. I was so exhausted. Well, why not make some resting, taking a moment of reflection, quiet sitting? Why not legitimize that by describing it from your member of staff? Keeping in touch with colleagues. one of the things that people have discovered through Zoom is that one of the useful things about Zoom and other Microsoft Teams and all those sorts of things is that if we keep it open, when we're not having a meeting, people can still chat. They can come in and see, you know, you went on with the Archers or whatever people are listening to or watch it. What do you want from them when you were struggling? What do I want from my staff when they're struggling? And there's something important in terms of psychological safety. And we might talk about psychological safety in another video. One aspect of psychological safety is being able to say, "Oh, sorry, can I have your attention for a minute?" Or actually, I'm struggling. What do you know? Have a think about what you want from your staff, and have a think if you're available to staff who are struggling, and have a think about how you'd like them to approach you if they're struggling. You know, something about how they communicate with you. Get the idea. Maybe my headings are the right ones for you. Maybe you want to switch some of those out. Maybe they don't make sense. Maybe you've got something very specific to your way of working that you'd like to add. And cross mine out, stick another one in, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a tool to give you, I don't know, a 15-20 minute chance to think about what is success for your workers in terms of the way you see it, and helping them to understand that by describing it in some detail. I hope that's useful to you, and please check out the other videos. There's ones about non-violent communication, and there's going to be ones about supervision. There's going to be ones about thinking about your body language when you're on the phone. What's missing in communication without physical presence. There'll be ones. There'll be a whole series of managing the pandemic videos. Hope you look out for them and hope they're useful to you. My name's Phil Jones, and I really hope that you have a good rest of the day and stay well. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.